Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Internet Paladins Radio Show. I am one of your hosts, Jamal.
And I am the Spaniard.
Unfortunately.
Hey. Co-host
Of course,
abuse.
I'm kidding.
Co-host abuse. No, okay. We're going to roll a dice. Or a die, if you're one of those hyper...
I am one of those.
Okay, we're going to roll a cube. And depending on the number on that cube, that will determine what we talk about next. So, Jamal, can you please roll the die?
With pleasure. It is a 6.
It is a 6.
That is our Conspiracy Corner.
It is time to visit Conspiracy Corner. And do you have a conspiracy for us to discuss? If not, I have a whole bunch.
I have nothing as good as what I'm sure you have at the moment, so why don't you lead us off with one?
Okay, something that I actually had forgotten about, but is so incredibly awesome and mind-bending, that it needs to be mentioned again, and it is a UFO sighting in South Africa. Now, what makes this UFO sighting so special was that it was seen by a class of children, and what they described was that a craft landed just outside of the playground, and after the craft landed, children described beings climbing out of the ship, looking at the children, talking to each other, stuff like that, then climbing into the ship and then taking off again. And of course, the adults all said, oh, that can't be real. They're children. Everything children say is a lie. Well, it's mostly true, but...
That is true. I certainly lied a lot when I was a child.
So what they did was they brought in a child psychologist. Now, there's actually a clip of this on YouTube. It's too long for us to watch in the small segment that we have for today, but I'm going to just share a link that we can maybe include in the notes or something like that.
Sounds good.
Let me just look it up quickly. South Africa UFO sighting. It was pretty interesting. You know what? I can't find that right now. I will find that in the future, and then we'll include that in the description. Okay, anyways, back to the story. The psychologist interviewed the children one by one and had them actually draw what they saw and also tell their story. And what he discovered was that all the children drew the exact same thing and described the exact same thing. And basically what they described was a group of extraterrestrials who sparkled and so on, getting out of the ship and, just milling about. And that's what makes this... a sighting that can't be so easily dismissed.
Well, I hate to be that guy, but it can. What happened, actually, is that these poor kids found a copy of my fan fiction video, a crossover between Twilight and... what was that? We were just discussing recently that movie in South Africa about the aliens, District 9?
Yeah, District 9, yeah.
Yeah, my fan fiction of District 9 and Twilight. So the sparkling aliens there's a lot more to that that's very deep. I encourage our listeners to read my... No, I'm just kidding. I don't write fan fiction. Anyway, continue.
Well, that's basically the long and short of the story. I think our listeners could get the most out of this story by... just watching the clip that we're going to include, because it actually has the psychologist or the doctor or whatever actually speak about, what he saw when he interviewed the children, what the stories they told him, and stuff like that. Usually, see, what's interesting is that usually sightings are, individual events. One person sees something, they tell their story. Can you believe them? It's just hearsay. But when you get like a group of a couple of dozen children, all retelling the same thing, all drawing the same thing. What does it mean? So what do you think about UFO sightings and witnesses and what they have to say usually?
Honestly, I think like 99% of them are meth-addled morons. They're always like the same guy with like a scraggly beard and a John Deere cap who like lives in a farm somewhere in Nebraska in the United States, or some crazy guy in Siberia who is drunk on moonshine vodka. So I think the credibility of most UFO sighting report is non-existent. Also, all the footage is always shot on film so impossibly grainy and unclear that I don't even know where the technology is to shoot these things so badly. But there are some reportings that are believable. When you get through all the yokels claiming that they saw some sparkly light in the sky. You don't have to worry about that when you hear some of the more intelligent people speak. But I don't know. I think most of the sightings are bogus. What do you think?
Well, you mentioned something interesting, and this always comes up on YouTube. And people are always saying, "Oh, every UFO sighting is filmed, terrible footage, shaky cam, so on and so forth." And I think about this, and they're right. Almost every single footage is absolutely garbage. Terrible camera, and it's always shaky. But you got to keep in mind two things. Number one, people are filming these things with their cell phones. People do not carry professional, $10,000 Sony camcorders in their pocket, whip it out when they see a UFO. So it's grainy because when you do the zoom in, right? These devices don't have optical zoom. They only have digital zoom, and a lot of the zoom is done through software. So it's going to be grainy. And secondly, a lot of them don't have like I don't know what the term for it, but anti-shaking device. Stabilizers, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. And like I have a camcorder, and it has stabilization, a small degree built in. But these guys filming it with their iPhones and stuff like that, they don't have that. But a lot of videos are in the post-processing. They are stabilized, so you get a lot better shots than you do with the raw footage. Now, to expand upon that, there's a woman. Her name is Allison Cruz, and she has a channel on YouTube, and it's absolutely 199% worth viewing. She goes out almost every week. Not usually in the winter, mostly in the summer. And she films just hordes of UFOs in the sky. They make no sound. They change shape. They hover. She's contacted the FAA. I think that's what they're called, the Flight Aviation Agency or something in America that controls flight and observes aerospace objects and stuff like that. And basically, they wrote her back, and they said they don't know what it is. They send her radar printouts. They send her reports for flights at night, and she actually has a flight checker on her iPhone or whatever. And while she's filming, there's no planes around where she is. There's just hordes of UFOs flying around, and she films this with $10,000 equipment. She has top-of-the-line equipment, and she has infrared, and you can actually see these objects shooting beams out onto the ground, spawning orbs, doing the craziest things. Like, everyone who listens to this is going to think I'm nuts. I tell you, go to her YouTube channel, check it out. If you live in Pennsylvania, look up. I don't know, in Grenada, we don't see a whole lot of UFOs, do we? Not really, right?
I don't really remember seeing too much, no. It's pretty silent here.
Pretty silent. It's just cows, warm weather, talapas, and...
It's pretty awesome. It's great. Aside from the ridiculous old Berber lady who lives in the apartment next to me who's constantly screaming at God knows what, aside from that, it's great.
Yeah. It is great. Okay, let's do a roll of the dice, and maybe we can sneak in one more item.
Yeah, I think we still have a few minutes in this segment. Looking forward to when YouTube gives us real people recording times. Okay, let's find out what our next exciting segment will be. Grip your seat edges if you have them. And it's going to be an article of news.
Okay.
All right, I guess I'll pick one since we just had you go.
Okay.
I found an article that I thought was highly entertaining. I hope that our listeners will agree. I'm sure most people by now have heard of a famous girl band from Russia called Pussy Riot, and how they've basically been arrested. It seems like every week they're in jail for something else. I don't know, maybe they're still in jail for just one thing.
They were arrested in Sochi. Did you hear about that? They were arrested at the Olympics.
Oh, no, I didn't.
And then they were apparently whipped or something, and then they were released again.
Oh, man. Well, apparently news reporters have issue with saying the name of their band on TV because they feel very awkward saying the word pussy. So somebody suggested a list of synonyms for their band, not only for pussy, but also for riot. And so I thought I'd share some of these with our listeners, and I'd like to know what you think would be the best one. So first one, kind of simple, is vagina riot. Mm-hmm. Then we have cuntastrophe. Cooter commotion, I guess. That's from those crazy Americans use that in the South, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Lady Bits Rampage. I enjoy that one. The JJ Melee. The Birth Canal Brouhaha. That's a good old-fashioned one. The Hoo-Ha Kerfuffle.
Hoo-ha. I'm a big fan of the word hoo-ha.
I am also. Beef Drape Diatribe.
What?
That's good. Front Bottom Fracas.
Front Bottom?
Front Bottom. I don't know. Labial Lawlessness.
Okay.
Rosebud Rumble. The Bearded Clam Shenanigans.
That's worse than their actual name.
The Muffin Scrufflin. I'm not sure where's Scufflin. Here we go. Cooch Confrontation. Down there, Donnybrook. I'm not sure what Donnybrook is.
You never heard of Donnybrook before?
No, what is it?
It's it's an old timey word for a fight or a bout of fisticuffs.
If it's not an old-timey Moroccan phrase, I don't know it. Here we go. Labia frabia. Front butt fiasco.
The front butt.
The munch bunch. That's a bit simple. Apocalypse, LIPS. Here's one for you. Violencia del vulva.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Meat curtain mayhem.
Okay.
You cause a bit of that around here, from what the ladies tell us. Nookie disagreement. It's a little silly. Honey pot havoc. Fanny free for all. And my favorite one, tumult near Mons Pubis. Which I think would be great for like a 1950s science fiction book.
Yeah, it would actually.
Yeah. Tumult near Mons Pubis. I'm going to write to Pussy Riot and suggest a name change once.
That would be good for a 1990s blue movie. Did you ever?
Yeah. Well, just before you continue, the link I sent you, that guy Wolf Blitzer, that expression.
Wolf Blitzer.
That expression. It's not his article, but that expression is what I guess they're imagining he feels every time he sees the teleprompter telling him he has to mention the band. So that's why they made this list, so people like him would not feel so uncomfortable. So that's the expression I have whenever I'm taking a shit. So, no, I'm just kidding. Expression is slightly more satisfied than that.
And normally radio broadcasts have a 6-second censor button. We do not have that on our show, nor will we ever employ such a button. So
in fact, if anyone suggests it, we will have them killed. So there you go.
Well,
how much time do we have left for the segment?
Just enough time to say that list was absolutely ridiculous, and to thank everyone for tuning in for yet another segment of the Internet Paladins Radio Show with The Spaniard and
Jamal.
A little bit of autism there in the delay, but we'll accept it.
Gonna make you pay for that someday.
Someday. See you guys soon. Welcome to yet another segment of the Internet Paladins Radio Show, recorded in beautiful Granada, Spain, with your hosts, The Spaniard
and Jamal.
And we are glad to have all of you. Well, most of you. No, I'm just kidding. You're all welcome.
All two of you.
All two of you. Okay, we're gonna roll.
Wait, no, we went up to two already. Wow. Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're gonna roll a die, find out what our next segment will be. So
okay.
Hold on to your butts, as they say in movies.
I'm clenching as we speak.
And it is.
That was the sound of me clenching.
Okay. It sounded like a cow forcing its way inside your rectum. But, okay, I rolled a 5, which leads to our who would win in a fight between.
Oh, nice.
Our classic question from when we were small children in the hills of Andalusia. Indeed. We would ask each other who would win in a fight.
I have such a battle prepared, if you'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight between Mr. Dressup and Fred Penner?
Whoa! That's a good one. Man. Mr. Dressup and Fred Penner.
I guess that's kind of hard to wrap your head around because they're two awesome guys. So I guess we should break up this battle into rounds. I guess one round could be actual like fisticuffs, and another round could be, who is better at entertaining the masses, or what, or was. Is Fred Penner still alive?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard about him for a long time. Not since back when we were going through our phase of researching kids shows. I mean, we didn't really have anything quite like that where we grew up, but up in I think it's Canada where those shows are from, or is it America? I don't.
They are Canadian, and Fred Penner is 67 years old. That's crazy.
67 years old. Right. Yeah, I thought the format of his show was really great. Basically, if anyone doesn't know Fred Penner, he would crawl through a log into some kind of magical wooded glade somewhere, and he had a guitar with him. And I don't quite remember too much else, but he would play the guitar, and his beard would kind of sit there amazingly on his face, as a rugged outdoorsman's beard should. And I think he had a native Canadian or Canadian Indian or whatever guy on there who would sing sometimes. And didn't he have some talking animals or something too?
Yeah, he did. The log was actually interesting because despite only being like a one-way log, he would actually, if I'm not mistaken, he would climb through the log and emerge into the clearing where the main show was hosted. He would also climb back out and go to a nearby treehouse, or maybe he just walked along a creek to get there. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's what I think you're thinking about. He would go away to this tree that was kind of off to the side, and all his animal friends would live there, and they would sing a song together. And
Fred Penner's Place. That's the show name. Check it out.
Fred Penner's Place. Okay, so Mr. Dressup versus Fred Penner. Mr. Dressup, Tickle Trunk, artist, puppets, Casey and Finnegan. Come on, Casey and Finnegan.
Yeah, another great Canadian man. I guess all the good kids entertainers come from up there. So we don't have.
Well, there's also Mr. Rogers.
That is true. I shouldn't forget him. If he ran interference in this fight, like in a wrestling match, he'd be coming for me. So Mr. Dressup versus Fred Penner. Well, let's decide. What's the first criteria? Is it going to be physical combat? Is it going to be something else?
We're going to do the first round, physical combat, to get that out of the way. But first, I'm actually going to share a picture with you that will help put this into perspective. Maybe we'll share the link, we'll see. But I never knew they were on the same show together. That's actually pretty awesome.
I would have blown child's minds to see the two of them together.
Yeah. Okay, so fisticuffs. I think Fred Penner would win because he's half Mr. Dressup's age.
He also seems to be a full foot taller than him. And he doesn't seem to go anywhere without a guitar that he could smash into Mr. Dressup's face.
But did Mr.
Plus, he appears to be an outdoorsman as well, so he must be fairly good shape.
Yeah, that's true. But did Mr. Dressup fight in the war or anything? Let's find out, Mr. Dressup.
Oh, here we go. Urban Legends website asks, was Mr. Rogers a Marine sniper / Navy SEAL?
Oh, that's...
Probably not, but maybe we'll investigate that and talk about that some other time.
Yeah, that's vastly interesting.
Yeah, actually Wikipedia says, despite recurring rumors, he never served in the military. Okay. I don't think Mr. Dressup had military experience. Did Fred Penner have military experience? Did he fight in Nam or something like that, as they say?
Yeah.
Because you never know who had military experience. I think I told you before, famous American happy painter Bob Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Was actually a drill sergeant for 20 years, which I can't imagine, get down and do some push-ups for me. No, I don't think he did that. I think he was a real drill sergeant. And he just snapped and decided he would paint the clouds.
Do a happy little chin-up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he...
Go scrub the latrines until they smile. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he got all the anger out while being a drill sergeant. That's possible. And then he just had none left. So here's something really interesting about Mr. Dressup. He suffered a stroke on September 10th, 2001, a day before the 9/11 attacks, and he died 7 days later.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, which is the greater tragedy?
What?
Probably
Mr. Dressup.
Yes.
Mr. Dressup.
So we've established that Fred Penner a man in his 40s would, at the time, would definitely have defeated a much older man. So what's the next criteria? We need 3 of them.
Who is the best? Who's the foot cramp? Oh. All right, I'm back. We're back on the air, people. We're back on the air. Okay. Who is the better musician? Because they both played the guitar, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, I'm going to go with Fred Penner on that one because I always enjoyed the music that he played when I watched episodes of his show on the internet there a while back. So I'm not sure. What do you think?
Mr. Dressup played multiple instruments, though, didn't he? But I think
right.
But didn't Fred Penner as well? Didn't he have like a harmonica or something?
He must have. He was a woodsman. I wouldn't be surprised if he could also play the spoons.
Yeah. I think he did, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But maybe that's a draw.
I think they're tied on musical talent. What's the final criteria? I think I know what it is, but final criteria.
I was going to say who is the better entertainer overall. What criteria were you going to?
Well, I was going to say who is the most resourceful entertainer. Because Fred Penner has this magical log that he can crawl through to get into basically a safe zone. He has sentient animal friends in the wilderness, but Mr. Dressup has the tickle trunk, and who knows what he could pull out of that. I mean, he only pulls fun things out, but what if he wants to pull out like a broadsword or something, or a thermal detonator, or who knows what he could pull out of there.
That's true. And just overall, he was pretty resourceful. The crafts he made, I don't really recall Fred Penner making too many crafts. I don't think
that was his thing.
No. But Mr. Dressup, you basically just put a pile of garbage on a table, and you'd have an amazing craft that anyone could make. Like 5 minutes later. So I know. I think that goes to Mr. Dressup.
So overall, we end in a tie.
We ended in a tie, and I think it's a
both men are greats and well-deserved tie.
A well-deserved tie. And
if anyone loses a fight like that, it would be us because those two men are fighting. So
I completely agree, and I think today's children's entertainers are not even close to being what those men were, because those men truly enjoyed the experience and made something out of nothing. They actually created, pretty much, or helped create the shows that they hosted, whereas today's hosts, they're basically just actors, or things like that.
Also, as we mentioned, fight referee Mr. Rogers as well, another shining example. I think he and Mr. Dressup worked together for many, many years. They were good friends. So,
yeah, sure.
I think our American listeners are all familiar with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Even in Europe, I mean, that show was on TV as well. So, although listening to it with Spanish dubbing was always entertaining because the dubbers are terrible. But still, once our English was better as kids, we were able to make it out. Yeah. But
let's do a roll of the die. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left.
3 or 4 minutes left. We'll do a very quick one, and it's another 5. Who would win in a fight?
Okay.
Well, I could roll it again, or we could do another quick who would win.
Let's actually make a roll. We can't do the same thing twice.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We don't want to bore anybody.
Yeah, let's roll again.
Roll the 1, news item. Okay, I've got one for you. Okay. Actually, no, I already gave you one. Do you have one?
I do. Justin Bieber, he's dead. He's dead.
Justin Bieber, he's dead.
He's dead.
He finally died. How did he die?
And he's also reincarnated as the Bizzle. The Bizzle. He changed his name on Instagram because he wanted to get into the R&B and rap game.
Most disappointing news segment. You owe me a paella for that. I mean, all right.
But it gets better though, because he died again after that.
Oh,
because he had to forfeit the Bizzle rap name after another rapper named Lethal set the Dench Gang upon him. I don't know what the Dench Gang is. What's the Dench Gang? Let's read about this. I got a few minutes. How much time I got to read this? I can do it. Justin Bieber has fortified his Bizzle rap name after our very own... Oh, no, pardon me. Justin Bieber has forfeited his Bizzle rap name after our very own Lethal Bizzle got his Dench Gang involved. Biebs, who counts rappers Lil Za and Lil Twist among his dearest friends. Okay, I'm not gonna. This is just not even worth reading. Okay, basically, tried to become a rapper, failed, continues to be an idiot, continues to embarrass Canadians, continues to set a bad example.
He embarrasses the world, as far as I'm concerned.
What the United States wants to deport him back to Canada. What do you feel about that?
Well, unfortunately they can't, but from what I read, but it would be nice if they did. I just know that if he was here, I would want to deport him into the sea, because when I see young men of fine standing in both the Spanish and Moroccan communities here imitating him, it just grates my nerves. So
absolutely,
I would, into the sea with him.
Into the sea, but then it would be a Jonah in the whale situation, right? We'd toss him into the sea, then we just hear a giant belch, and then...
Oh God, I hope not. Hopefully it would just be into the sea, and that's that.
The Bizzle would emerge half chewed, partially digested.
He'd wash up on the shores of Wales, and we'd see an article on a conspiracy site 10 days from now, and a mysterious creature washes up in Wales. It's actually Justin Bieber. Anyhow, I think that's all the time we have for this segment. Stay tuned for the next one.
Indeed. We have a minute left. I would like you to sing us off operatically. Go. You got 60 seconds. Do it.
Once again, a fine episode. The Paladins ride through the internet. I got nothing else.
All right, that was good.
Well, we'll make I'll refine that a few times, and that'll be our theme song.
We actually need to get a musical intro of some sort going, but I think we should save that for when we get longer episodes, because with only 15 minutes, we don't kind of want to burn
No.
Any seconds that we don't have. Okay, so thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you listening, and we will see you again very shortly. I am The Spaniard.
And I am Jamal.
And you are listening to the Internet Paladins Radio Show. Long live the Bizzle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Internet Paladins Radio Show. I am Jamal.
And I am the Spaniard.
Spaniarita.
Spaniarita.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Okay, and you are listening.
Spaniard?
What were they listening to? Tell them. Tell them.
I did tell them, the Internet Paladins Radio Show. Open your ears.
Okay. Let's, what should we do?
I'll roll a die.
Let's roll a die. And regain our sanity in the process.
Oh, here we go. Let off by number 6, another conspiracy corner.
Okay, good. I like conspiracies.
Indeed, because you are a madman.
I am.
Share your madness with the world, please.
All right. I actually shared it last time. Do you want to share one, or do you want me to share another one?
Yeah, I can share.
Okay.
I read on the internet recently about the Winter Olympics in Sochi. Opinions maybe shared by many different countries, but mostly by the Japanese. And the Japanese believe that the South Korean team is paying money to Olympic judges so that South Korean athletes will win all the events. Now, of course, we know by now that they didn't win all the events, but the Japanese firmly believe that the Koreans are bribing all the judges and that nobody is aware of this, not even the Korean athletes. So my question is, how could the Japanese be aware of this? Is it just racial tension once again? So what do you think? Maybe more along the lines of total conspiracy in the Olympics. I've heard of this many times, of countries paying money to get golds, which really defeats the purpose of the whole event. Do you think there's any kind of underlying conspiracy in the Olympics?
I don't think it's conspiracy. I think it's fact. And I think it's actually been demonstrated before. Not talking about Olympics before this one. Countries would often vote along Cold War lines, especially in things like figure skating or events where judges came into play. You'd see like countries like the Soviet Union, Poland, Czechoslovakia, stuff like that, voting for Eastern Bloc athletes, and then West Germany, America, Canada voting for blah blah blah. And actually, in the last Winter Olympics, France was caught or accused of. I'm pretty sure they were caught voting against the Canadian skaters, if I'm not mistaken. And this Olympics, there was a report in the French newspapers that there's apparently a Russian conspiracy to vote Canadian athletes down wherever they could. But these things are in the realm of conspiracy because, they haven't been proven either way. However, I was going to say one more thing. As for the Koreans bribing everyone to win, that's kind of silly because the one athlete who should have won, Yoona Kim, was basically cheated out of a medal, a gold. And if anyone has seen her skate, it's like watching an angel float on the ice. And
absolutely, I agree. I was watching her myself the other day, and I thought she was impressive. So, watching the Russian, basically a barn animal, on the ice. No, that's unfair.
She's pretty good. Her jumps need a little bit of development. You're talking about the young girl, right? The 15.
Yeah, the 17 or whatever. Yeah. Well, I mean, she's Russian, so she already looks 29. But But it's just like my sister, who at the age of 14 already looked like she was in retirement. But that's the son of North Africa will do that to a man, and to a woman rather. My sister is not a man. Anyway, I digress. Another. I was a little saddened, speaking of the Olympics, to see the Japanese skater Asada Mao, who is, I think, the best figure skater in the world for women. screw up royally and have no chance of winning in her short program. I think she's the only female who's ever been able to do a triple axel in the history of figure skating, so or at least the only one who's currently capable of it. I think women just don't have the strength in their legs. I guess it's because there aren't any Moroccan women doing skating, because when you squat down to pick vegetables as much as my family does,
that's true.
Your legs could propel you to the moon.
That is true. Are there any figure skaters in your family line?
No, there are not. Don't have much time in between a regular day. So
that's true. I guess there's not a lot of ice in.
Nope. Only in our delicious beverages whenever we go there. But Russia. I mean, what are that? They have 33 medals right now, 13 gold. So they're number one as far as medal count. So are they paying money to the judges? Absolutely. So conspiracy or fact? You tell us in the comments.
See,
next segment, you have something to add?
I was just going to talk about judged sports in general.
Let's do
it. See, on one hand, like a judged sport, how. It's very subjective, right? How do you define a winner? It's not like in hockey, where there's a score, and it's basically decided. Whereas when you're figure skating, did you raise your left calf high enough into the air to earn yourself the 0.3 points in this category of
it's a little baffling when you watch it as a casual observer, right? I mean, I wasn't able to determine the difference between most of them.
Yeah, they actually have charts they show afterwards that measure the jumps, what kind of jumps were done, and how it all fits in. And apparently there is a chart for that, but I don't know. Neither here nor there, as they say.
Watching all those beautiful ladies spin around on the ice is good enough for me. I don't need to know the 2 millimeter failure in their jump relating to 0.3 points is not interesting to me. So, but there is room for nonsense and foolery, tomfoolery in the judging, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? Japan and Korea, they don't get along. Never have gotten along. Probably, maybe never will get along. I actually got an email this morning from a NGO in Korea, which is very interesting, about something I wrote on a website somewhere. And this NGO found it and emailed me because I referred to an area as an part of the sea by the name Japan uses rather than South Korea. And they started asking me politely, can you please refer to it by its proper name? And stuff like that, and I was kind of surprised. So they must actually have people who, it's propaganda, right? Basically, all the countries are trying to advance
proper name by which international authority? South Korea?
Well, they brought up references, National Geographic and stuff like that. But even then, it's subjective. Like National Geographic isn't, the authority on.
If you wanted to call them Fart Butt Island or the ocean of weeping sores, for all they care, it doesn't matter. You can say anything you want. So to Koreans who might listen to this broadcast and take offense to our improper naming of Korean property around the world, you can bite us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey, we converted your whole country to our religion, so yeah. Well, not to my religion, but anyhow, our country's religion, I should say, not ours. All right, how much time do we have?
We have enough, more than enough for another roll.
Then I shall roll the die. What do we get? Inquisition.
Oh, yeah.
All right. For those who've listened before, you may not recognize the name, but the Inquisition is perhaps our best segment where we ask each other a question so preposterous, so difficult, that it will blow your mind. So which of us will be the asker? Which of us will be the man whose mind is blown?
I will be the asker in this case.
I shall brace my mind for impact. Ready?
Okay.
Hit me with what you've got.
Tomorrow morning, you wake up without a face. What do you think about this? And how do you live the rest of your life?
What do I think about this? Okay, define without a face. Is where my face was just a featureless patch of taut skin, or do I have like the?
You retain your senses.
Do I have hints of eye sockets or where things once were, or is it just like the skin of a drum stretched over my skull?
It's like a third butt cheek.
And I retain my... Okay.
You retain your senses so that when you look in the mirror, you can still see. You don't know how, and I'm not going to explain how, because it's not part of the question.
So if my face is now a butt, by which I mean a butt cheek, how would I eat? So that would be one of the things going through my mind. I'd be looking in the mirror, and first of all, I would notice the marked improvement in my physical features, now that I have no face. And then I would scream, and then I don't know, what would I think if I woke up without a face? What kind of question is that? I would think that I was dreaming. Mm-hmm. And then once I discovered that I wasn't, I would blame you somehow, and then I would decide that you're not possibly capable of removing my face, and then I would just assume that it was either some kind of divine punishment, alien intervention, or witchcraft, I suppose. So
okay, and how would you live your life from then on?
Out of face.
So it's tomorrow morning. You have 3 butts.
Well, three butts or 3 butt cheeks?
3 butt cheeks.
Okay. Because I'm not sure where that second butt would have been. 3 butt cheeks. So I have a butt. I have an arse face. What would I do for the rest of my life? I guess I could make a YouTube channel where people watch a man with no face talk. And I'd probably make lots of money because people like to look at freaks. I could use my sudden anonymity to become the world's greatest criminal, which I probably would do because I think I'd feel a little bitter at that point. You can't identify a man with no face. Although, then again, it was the man with no face is kind of identification, isn't it? So... I guess I'd go to... you know what I'd probably do is I'd probably go insane and kill myself, I think is the honest answer.
Okay.
Because waking up with no face but still having your senses is not something that your brain can really wrap around. So I think it would just snap and I would become a gibbering mess, or I would kill myself. One of the two.
See, this question also... I ask it in a silly way, but it actually has ramifications because, there's soldiers who return, home from the battlefield and they don't have a face, right? And they're faced with the decision, how do I live the rest of my life?
Oh, if they're Americans, the answer is on welfare and forgotten by society.
Yeah.
As all of their veterans have to live, basically.
So would you form a society for
the faceless?
For yeah, basically.
I guess I'd have to. I would never want to live in the United States, so I'd probably have to travel to Syria to find faceless people nearby. So yeah, I think I would create I'd create a new version of the Knights Templar.
The Butts Templar.
The Butts Templar. The young faceless fellows of Allah, and that would be my group, and it would be an excellent group until it was deemed a terrorist cell by the Americans and destroyed.
So basically, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of this question and the answers given is that in order to uphold the Qu'ran, you don't need a face, and if you have a butt as a face,
God still loves you.
God still loves you.
If you do what he wants you to.
And appreciate your butt face. Because you have to appreciate it, right? You can't just...
We'll think of it. You have a butt face, but you could have a leprous mass of rotting flesh face.
You could.
So, which would you rather have? You tell us in the comments. A butt for a face or weeping sores?
And we look forward to reading those responses, and maybe we'll talk about some of them in our next segment of the Internet Paladins Radio Show.
Indeed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Internet Paladins Radio Talk Show. I am your host, Jamal.
And I am the Spaniard.
Yes, you are. Well, we have a wonderful day ahead of us today. We had some interesting discussion last time about what we would do if we woke up without a face, or what I would do if I woke up without a face. Pretty sure I would do nothing good for society. But let's find out what we're going to be doing first today.
And with faces. And with faces.
It's another Inquisition.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to drill you with a question so severe that it will break your very soul.
Well, that sounds horrible. Okay.
And this Inquisition is actually going to play back to the Inquisition. You wake up tomorrow morning, strapped to the rack in the dungeons of northern Spain. An Inquisitor stands before you.
Okay.
He tells you to prove to him that you are not a heretic. What would you say? You're only allowed to say one thing before he cuts off a finger. What would you say?
Oh, come on. One thing, because no matter what I say, he's not going to believe it, right?
And that's why this is the Inquisition.
Because like his very paycheck comes from his creating, political enemies that are people who are, not political enemies. So,
well, here you are. You have the golden opportunity to throw a wrench in the whole system. With one
while on the
immensely
rack,
intelligent statement. Let's say you're on the rack, but not at the point of being stretched yet. It's just, for the future. You're there for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Maybe to loosen your pee a little bit, which I'm sure is dribbling down your legs at this point. So he hovers over you with red hot clippers, finger clippers that he's held over a fire. He's ready to snip a finger away, and he asks you the question, "Prove to me you are not a heretic." What do you say?
Does he ask it in that precise voice?
He does, although he'd probably ask it in Spanish, but or Latin.
In Latin, yeah.
Yeah.
Did they actually have red hot clippers with which they cut off digits? Probably, right?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. Or maybe they just cut them off with cold clippers and he bled. But I think they would do it with hot ones, so it would cauterize the wound and you'd still be alive. So, what do you say?
Well,
time's a ticking.
Time's a ticking.
Finger approaches death.
Well, see, knowing that no matter what I said...
But do you know that?
No, I don't. So I guess I would open my statement like this. My one and only statement. No matter what and of course I'm speaking fluent Latin or whatever. Well, I guess I wouldn't be able to speak Latin because I'm just part of the rabble, right?
Yeah.
I'd be speaking Spanish or...
Some gutter pig Spanish.
Yeah. First I would say, you're seeking, an answer as to why I am not a heretic and proof to that effect. But as I am already here and already on the rack, I'm assuming that you already have a sort of bias against whatever, I'm probably going to say, and may very likely reject anything I'm going to say. So I'm not going to say it as an innocent person. I'm not going to try to convince you that I am innocent. I'm going to go with the assumption that you think I am guilty, that I am indeed a heretic. And then I will ask you to, as a devout religious man, to go to the gospel and review what Jesus Christ said about dealing with one's enemies, even the worst of the worst. And he said, and I quote, that one must settle the differences with his brother before they reach the courtroom, and they must do so before their lives terminate. Because if they do not do so, and they do not forgive one another, any punishment you mete out to me will not only be meted out back onto you 1,000-fold, you will have given up a tremendous opportunity to, enter heaven, which is, the whole point of this exercise, is it not? Is that why I'm not here in the rack? To prove that, God reigns supreme? And then I would subsequently have one of my fingers snipped off. But
oh, of course, yeah. That's a very wise statement. Yeah, and of course he would just say, who are you to presume to lecture me on elements of the faith, and then would probably cut off your dick. But
yeah, probably.
Well said.
I probably wouldn't even have a dick by that point. It probably would have already been chewed off by a shark or something.
Why would they have a shark in a dungeon?
So
fetch the shark! And another inquisitor pulls one out of a cell, and his teeth gnash hungrily towards your privates. Yeah, I think that would be.
And you know what? Not to do with the Inquisition question that we're discussing, but when you think about it, all the Christians across the world, that's pretty much the first thing they fail at: forgiveness. They call themselves Christian, but they say the most vile things. They are some of the most angry, hateful people that I've probably ever come across. And what they accuse others of, especially Muslims, or maybe even sometimes Jews or people of other religions, the things they accuse them of, they themselves practice to such a high degree that they could call themselves disciples of hatred. That's how mean and violent they are, and that bothers me. So it's interesting that you bring up a question about the Inquisition, because the Inquisition still exists. The only thing that saves people now from the violence they once experienced is that there are a few laws in place just to keep society stable. And I don't know, it's a crazy world. It's going to get crazier as the days pass.
Absolutely, and I agree with you that in my experience, Catholics and in this country are unforgiving in many ways of things that should be forgiven. There's a bit more of a history, especially in this region, of people with open minds. Kind of, there's always been a mixture of cultures here. It's not as bad as places like the United States, which claim to be a free country, but only if you meet the following list of criteria, of course, and one of which is to be a God-fearing Christian. But I don't know. Do they really fear God when they blatantly ignore everything He demands that they do? I don't think so.
Nope.
I think if they did, they might actually pick up one of His books and do more than just read the words and actually think about the words.
Yeah.
And, it's like if you're skimming a text for an assignment where you don't actually comprehend what you're reading. It's just that you look at the words with your eyes, but you don't see the words, if you know what I mean. I think that's what people do when they read those books, is they just read the texts because they're told to, but they never actually read the book, if you get my meaning. Like if you read a storybook, right? The storybook that you really love, it draws you in, and you can't, stop reading it, and every word is a treat to your brain. That's how people should be approaching these texts, not like, oh, okay, I'll read it like a news article when I'm bored. So anyway,
it's true.
Yeah.
That's always what I find interesting when I ask people, have you read the Qu'ran? No. And they're readers of books. Have you read the latest Stephen King book? Oh yeah. Have you read the latest? I don't know. I'm not that much of a reader myself. Who else is big out there? Writer. I don't know, but you get my point.
George R. R. Martin, the Game of Thrones guy.
Oh yeah. They'll read those books, and these are pretty big books, but they won't pick up the Bible. They won't pick up the Quran, and these are Christians, and these are Muslims and stuff like that, and it's ridiculous. The two most important books ever to exist, and they just leave them there. It's like having an instruction manual for life and saying, it's okay, I'll wing it.
I'll just put my feet up on the table right beside that book and watch football.
Yep. It's ridiculous.
Real Madrid win another game. That's more important than life. Yeah. Well, God, in this country, man, I could talk about the idiots, the soccer idiots, or the football idiots, since I don't want to be an American. But
let's roll the dice again.
Let's roll the die.
We could talk about religion all day and all night.
And we will. We will over many, many episodes. I'm sure if that'll lose us some listeners. But honestly, you know what? For all the atheists out there who have convinced themselves that religious people are stupid, no, we don't talk about religion in the way that you assume most religious people do. We're thinkers. What would you say the word would be? Theologians, perhaps? Well, you more than myself. I mean, you're far more studied than I am on the subject. But
well, I think that the best term to use would be scientific submitters, scientific believers. Right? You have to be a scientific believer. You can't just be a believer, right? If someone who just is a scriptural thumper, they're blind, right? And someone who doesn't believe at all, they're useless, right? They're also blind.
Well, the interesting thing about the Qu'ran for atheists who love science is that God clearly commands us within the book to use our senses to prove to ourselves that He is real, not to just accept at face value. And I think atheists assume that all religious people accept without any critical thought that this is true. And I think a lot of religious people do, like the ones you say that never read the Bible or the Quran, the Christians who judge and are hostile. They do not use their faculties to ascertain the realities of God. They just listen to their parents and to their priest and to their friends, and they just accept that God is real, but they have no proof in their own minds. And we're commanded to find that proof ourselves. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes you wonder, if these people are doing that, if they're just blindly, following what their parents or these scholars gave them, do they, and they think they believe in God, are they actually believing in God? And if so, is it actually the same God that, a true believer believes in? Or is their God, a set of rules?
I think they believe in the God of convenience, the fashion God, the God of the moment that everybody believes in. And that's unacceptable. So... the die has magically rolled to a 1 to allow for this discussion to continue.
Oh, good.
So even though I didn't roll the die, I've used my mental powers to make it turn to a 1 by lifting it up with my fingers and placing it down. So there's the sound for everyone. It is a 1. Okay. Cheating. But it's our show. We can do what we want. Yeah. I think with a lot of atheists as well, they believe that all of the messages that religious people preach can be easily disproven by science, but I think that a lot of the messages that religious people preach are not correct, or they're not seeing the bigger picture. There's a lot of that in religion where some atheists will say that it's ridiculous, the idea that God could create an ecosystem as diverse as the Earth, and that evolution has so much going for it, and the fact that evolution is so scientifically sound, it disproves God. Well, who's to say that God did not create evolution?
Precisely.
Is there any solid evidence that the world is 6,000 years old, like some people believe? I don't think that's necessarily the case. And even if he says that, the 6,000 years could be in his reckoning, not in ours. So you've got to open your mind and approach things from every possible angle. So, do you think if God is all-powerful, is he incapable of creating evolving species on a planet?
Precisely. He created everything, right? And if he creates everything, he can also create, like you said, the systems that govern those things that he creates. And, evolution and other systems we don't even know about yet could be in play.
Sure. And here's the thing as well, when we mention, God commanding us to use our intelligence to determine his reality, when we look at a system like evolution, that is a test. That is a test for people who, we'll get into that in more detail when we have more time. Okay. But we'll have some interesting discussion in our next segment about it.
For sure.
Please stay tuned, unless you rage quit our radio show forever because your mind is closed.